Welcome Smeggy, backstage in the dressing room at Concorde 2, Brighton. You've just done a sound check. How did this band come together?
Well, essentially through these people, the Reservoir Gods, the scooter club that hunted me down when I was living in Toronto.
All right.
And I was being, how should we put it, politely asked to leave the country. And the scooter club came over. There was a scooter run near Toronto,
Right.
and they all piled down and said, "We'll find him." And they asked in a couple of bars and my propensity for alcoholic consumption.
And this is quite recently, Toronto?
Yeah, it's just about 18 months ago.
Right. What were you doing there?
I was out there existing. Usual
Playing,
story,
gigging,
usual story,
gigging.
Tasty bird, fucking love that. Yeah, we're doing some bits with Paul that was in Concorde,
Right.
and Keith, who plays with us now, and in a band called Mr. Solid,
Right.
which just sort of like fucked up country punk rock, basically.
Right. Right. And how did this gig with Splodge as a Bounce come about? How did you get in touch with Splodge?
Well, how did it come about? It was something to do with Peter Testue. He was I saw him at work, and we got talking, and he was saying, "Oh, you ought to do some stuff." And then Josh phoned me, the guy that promotes here,
Yeah.
and then I saw Max, who I hadn't seen for a long time. He's a friend of one of the stage managers that I work with.
Right.
And then it all sort of became what's known. So it's
Right.
kind of full circle, really.
And after this sound check, how do you feel about the gig tonight? Because it's the first time you're playing with these guys.
fucking nightmare, musos. I don't deal with musos, stage crew.
So you're feeling good about it?
Yeah, it's alright, yeah, it should be a laugh. It's like, I used to live here, didn't I, years ago.
Right.
When I was like 16, I left home and moved over here, and I had a band here as well.
Right.
Donkeys years ago.
What kind of band was that?
Same sort of deal, dodgy rock and roll, malarkey, punk rock sort of thing.
Yeah.
Smeggy and the cheesy bits.
Smeggy and cheesy bits.
Yeah. So this is sort of like.
And was it straight after that, if we can sort of now head back to the early 80s, that Rockin' Kurt and Sauerkrauts, what was...
No, that's I lived here for about a couple of years, then went up to London for a year, went back here for another 6 months, back to London, and this is all like in sort of 78, 79.
Right, right.
And grey hair. And then I went up to London and threw old girlfriend of mine who just so happened was shagging Paul as well.
As well? Right.
Yeah, I met up with that lot when I saw him at the 101 Club in Clapham Junction.
Right.
And Paul had a bottle of whiskey, simple, end of story. And that was sort of. Yeah, it was sort of like 1981.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So it's on the tail end of punk, and
Yeah, pretty much.
the rockabilly thing, I mean, the Stray Cats were very big at that point, weren't they? Were they an influence on you?
Yeah, I went to see them, and it was kind of cool. I was into the Cramps, and sort of prior to that, sort of
Right.
Johnny Bennett and sort of like weird sort of English rockabilly things. Donny Sibley's Dixie Phoenix.
Right.
Punk Bashing Boogie. Mind you, that's more of a Ted band, but
Yeah.
for obvious
It's
reasons.
interesting you say that you were into the Cramps, because I read somewhere that you never liked the term psychobilly.
Well, we never really thought that we were a psychobilly band, which is, we all sort of looked at ourselves as a sort of dodgy rock and roll band, really.
Not even rockabilly?
Well, we sort of used sort of rockabilly covers, like sort of a couple of Johnny Bennett songs, and you know, sort of like things like Bo Diddley sort of goes back to sort of Bo Diddley and the sort of
More R&B,
early
R&B
R&B
rock,
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you sort of see the psychobilly genre as it's become sort of thing, you couldn't really say that we was a psychobilly band.
Right.
We're just a rock and roll band, really.
Right.
That's it, it's fucking sound, isn't it? We've had it.
And then, I keep on mentioning its name, Rocking Kurt and the Sauerkrauts. That was Brighton, that was down here, or that was London, yeah?
Well, two of the guys, original members, John and Robert, went to Sussex University.
Right.
And Rocking Kurt and the Sauerkrauts was John, Robert, Rory, and Paul, and then Maggot, who was called Junior at the time, was about 13 in fact. He started playing the saxophone.
Right.
And they had Jeff Harvey was the singer, and he was going off somewhere to do something else, and I bumped into him through the earlier story, and started from there really.
Right, and it was after that it became King Kurt from that band.
The rock was dropped.
Right.
They dropped the sauerkraut bit fairly early, before I joined, and then just before I joined, they were off in Wales on a big sort of mind-expanding sort of debrief, and dropped a rock. And somebody said, "Oh, well, we've just dropped the rock," so it became King Kurt.
Right. And so the other interesting thing about that band is that you already had sort of a horn player in there. Was that so that he was a mate of the band? And
well, he was Junior, as he was then, was John's cousin.
Right.
So
he was a mate of the band. So it wasn't as though you decided, right, well, we're going to do a rock and roll band or a rockabilly band with horns.
Well, it was kind of that, because it was sort of because of the sort of stuff that was being played.
Yeah.
Saxophone is sort of a bit synonymous with that sort of
right.
that malarkey. So
yeah,
it seemed to make sense.
And then, so that's now 1983.
Well, when they were doing all that, it was like 81.
Right.
And I joined in sort of sometime in 81. It's all a bit blurry. And then 82, we released Zulu Beat in the summer. We recorded it in the summer in a shed in Reading.
Right.
With several bottles of whiskey and several cases of beer. And then 83 was the release of Destination.
Yeah.
And the Walla Walla album.
Right. Now, how did you hook up with Dave Edmunds? How did you get the deal with Stiff first of all?
The Stiff thing came through. Well, we did a lot of demos for. We were demoing for EMI, and we did two sort of big hits of demos for them, and it seemed like we were going to go with EMI, and then the MD's missus found out that we threw rabbits and things, albeit like just the skins and the skull and the brain. But they had great finger puppets. And she found out that we did silly things like that and freaked out, and EMI stopped talking to us.
Right.
And Stiff had already sort of been looking into it, and Robinson liked us, and so we went with Stiff.
Right. And then how did the hook up with Dave Edmunds happen?
Robbo had always wanted Edmunds. He'd been trying to get Edmunds to produce something for him for a long time.
Oh, right.
And they had sort of connections.
Right.
And somehow he managed to convince Dave Edmunds to do our thing. And
did he come and see you live a few times?
I don't know if he did actually. We went and met him in the pub, because his management, I can't remember what his name was, something like Di Davis, which is sort of, and we went and met him in a boozer in Battersea, and from there it sort of, we went and did the thing.
Having done one album, as I say, with sort of garage studio, done some numbers there. What was it like suddenly? You got Dave Edmunds in the producer's seat, and was it still beer and whiskey, or?
Yeah. Lots of whiskey, lots of beer, and
what was he like as a producer? Perfectionist, or he's got a very crafted sound for his own albums.
It was pretty sort of. It was pretty bish bash bosh. It wasn't.
Oh, right.
It was not. And we did it in 14 days from start to finish.
Right.
And it was 14, something like that. And yeah, it was alright. It's kind of cool. There's bits of it I like and there's bits of it I don't. But
which bits? A particular favourite?
There's just some bits that could have been like later on. It might have, chances are it was just us.
Right.
But later on we did some stuff that was as we sort of got better.
Right.
So yeah, sort of there's some things that I like better, but it was kind of cool. It was an experience driving like 8 of us in a fucking Rolls Royce to the pub and stuff.
Oh wow.
In his motor. Hey, look, you can hear the clock ticking. But yeah, it was an experience because we all knew of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done some good things. It's kind of cool.
And the album itself, generally you liked it? It was just...
Yeah, it was at the time we were like sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
But, as you get older and you sort of do other stuff, you sort of... And there's still things on that that are brilliant that I really like to listen to, sort of.
Yeah,
when I
20 years on.
Bit of a fit and run out of other things to play.
Yeah. When it came to the actual your set list and the repertoire in the early days of the band, who chose it? Was it like everybody pitched in?
Yeah, it was a bit of a sort of democracy sort of thing, which worked well sometimes and didn't others.
As democracies tend to. Yeah.
Yes.
Who chose Mac the Knife?
I thought that was coming up.
Sorry, it's just it's the obvious. The obvious sod question.
Yeah, isn't it? And that was my feeling at the time. Why fucking do that? What's the point?
Yeah.
But the obvious one to go with was Record Party, straight from Destination to Record Party, and there was the democratic thing, and John, who wrote Record Party, decided that he wanted to stay out of it. And so between Rory and a couple of others, the vote was swayed for that, and it just I couldn't see any point really. But there you go.
Right.
So what's his name?
Yeah.
That's how it ended up being technically a double A side thing.
Right.
But realistically, they should have marketed Record Party Rock and sort of kept with the sort of flow of like things that we've written ourselves. I think it's a strong enough song.
Were the flower bombs, water bombs and rabbits, was that a democratic thing in the early days of the band?
No, that all started from when Jeff was leaving the band, his last show. They said they were going to make him a cake.
Right.
And it was all sort of literally, we're going to make you a cake.
Make him into a cake. Yeah. And it started there, and the audience loved it so.
And it just sort of spiraled out of all control from there on in, really.
Yeah.
And sometimes it worked against us, and other times it worked. And on some levels it worked for us, and other levels it worked totally against us.
What's an example of it working against you?
It costs a lot of money, and you get
Right.
banned from everywhere.
Right.
And people get the wrong end of the stick. Like in Sweden, they thought it was paint, and they were throwing gloss paint at us, which can be quite expensive.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you can imagine.
God.
And venues won't have you back, and you're not paying huge fucking cleaning bills, and it was fun, and it looks good, and it's just mad fun, but it can be a bit of a pain in the arse sometimes.
Right. What about when you did Top of the Pops? Were they not, with Destination Zululand, were they not a bit concerned about the studio floor?
They were slightly concerned because they didn't really know what was going to happen, and it sort of it was contained, but partly because we were so stoned that we didn't know what was happening really. But
now, the other thing that I've got to ask is that there's a certain, how can I put it, a phallic emphasis on some album titles, Big Cock and stuff like that, and Last Will and Testicles.
yeah.
Again, who was the inspiration behind that?
Big Cock was me and Paul came up with that one.
Last Will and Testicles?
Last Will and Testicle was somebody else's idea, I think. But Big Cock, we couldn't think of anything. We were trying desperately. We'd almost finished recording it, and still didn't have a title. We was sitting in Paul's motor and driving along. What can we call it? And I thought ball bag. It was sort of like another sort of double entendre sort of thing. Yeah. And then Big Cock seemed to be a better idea, and the chicken sort of thing. It's a chicken, isn't it? It's nothing to do with genitalia. It's just a big fucking chicken. But
Last Will and Testicles is to do with genitalia, right?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Just that was at the time sort of perceived to be the end, and if you're going to cut the nads off it, you may as well do it properly.
The band split in '87. So
yeah.
Why did it split? Was it a sort of gradual thing, or was it a sudden bust up, or
just some musical differences?
Tell us more.
Personality crises.
Was it just simply 4 years on the road together and you're getting up each?
People's, after a while, sort of people have sort of different ideas about how things are going to go and how things should be done. And
did people change from your memory about once it was Top of the Pops and once there was can you remember the vibe of the band changing? In the van or
just sort of not really. We were still steaming drunk and didn't know what we were doing half the time, and still covered in shit, and just
same old thing.
Carried on sort of the same way.
Yeah.
It was just more exciting. There was more people. We were going more places, and doing the same thing in different places.
What sort of biggest places that you played? What's the sort of fond memory from that sort?
Memory being a little sort of vague. But things like we did the old Finnish midsummer festivals, and this one in particular is huge, and that was pretty wild.
Right.
And some stuff. We were supposed to tour in Spain with the band, and we were doing all sort of TV and national press and stuff in Spain, and the band were quite a big Spanish band, and they decided that their singer was going to have an asthma sort of thing. So we spent 9 days in Spain doing nothing, and they were from the Basque Country, and the last show was in San Sebastian, and obviously he was miraculously cured, and we turned up in this fucking big sports place, and it was rammed, like a sort of Wembley Arena sort of style gaff.
Wow.
And place absolutely just went totally mental. It was about the same time that Big Cock was out.
Right.
And there was all these geezers dressed in their Basque suits, throwing live chickens and another sort of slightly the wrong end of the stick thing, but it was absolutely mad.
How did you enjoy that open air massive festival vibe as a performer?
That's pretty cool, yeah. You're a bit of a distance away from people, which is sort of, it takes a little bit of it away, but it's still good to see, sort of. And unless of course they're throwing bricks and bottles and hatcheting each other in the back of the head, which has happened.
Right. And after the split, King Kurt became the Kurtz. Is that right?
Yeah, that was Rory and Dick Crippin's little thing.
Right.
And I joined in, and I don't know whether I was really into it. I don't think it's such a good idea really, but
right.
it did nothing, so it don't really matter.
But then in 1990 you got back together again, basically. Yeah. What led to you spent enough time away you could stand each other's company? Was it simple?
Yeah, well, we got back together with it was me, Paul, Maggot, and we got Billy from the Blubbery Hellbellies to play bass, and Daniel from the Dave Howard Singers. He came and played drums for us, and it was I think that was one of the best bands that I've been in, really.
Was that the lineup for One Poor Man's Dream?
Yeah.
Right. And how long was that album in the making? And was that Beer and Whiskey still?
That was Beer and Whiskey. It was recorded above a pub with a load of mobile stuff that we had.
Right.
A friend of ours said, we can do it here, so we did it above his pub.
Right.
Hired in a load of digital stuff and whacked it out in a boozer.
And so that was basically the lineup through the 90s, was it? Yeah, the One Poor.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Paul moved over to Canada. He had his wins, moved to Canada, and we did a couple of things in Toronto. I can't remember. I think we did something in Germany as well. We came over and we did a tour in Germany, and then when we did the things in Toronto, me and Maggot moved over there. The lure of
what's that street called in Toronto?
What's his name?
The red
longest street in the world.
Yeah.
Young Street.
That's right. Yeah. Lots of life there, isn't there?
Yeah, you can get a bit of rub and tug action on Young Street.
And that virtually brings us up to date then, so you were out there for...
I was out there for 3 years, yeah.
Right.
Well, 3.5 all told. I came back here for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was out there for 3 years. Paul came back just before I did. Maggot's still out there doing his painting and stuff.
All right.
Doing quite nicely for himself as well.
So in a couple of hours' time, Smeggy, you're on stage with this band. What about the future? Have you started thinking of... could this be the start of something new tonight?
Some people, there's some sort of interest. I mean, we just really, all I started doing this for was for the scootering thing. The scooter guys had done me a lot of favours.
Right.
And they asked me if I'd do something, and I didn't. I said I can't really, because other people in the band don't want to do stuff anymore. Mm-hmm. And they said they'd find a band, and they did.
Right.
They're very resourceful men.
Right. Right.
And so I said I'd do the big scooter run at Woolacombe, the Southwest Scooter Club's thing, and did that, and that went well. And we did after that. I think we did something after that as well. Oh yeah, we did the Garage up in North London, which was kind of alright but advertised strangely. And then this year we did Woolacombe again, just by just by chance, and that went really well. And then sort of this came along.
Are you itching to get back into the studio?
No.
Well, on that decisive note, Smeggy, thanks for your time. Have a great gig tonight.
No, cheers. Thanks.
Cheers.